There is something incredibly satisfying about finishing a piece of trim without having to drag a heavy air compressor and a tangled mess of hoses across the room. That is exactly where this cordless pin nailer finds its groove. It is one of those tools that makes you wonder why anyone still bothers with pneumatic setups for smaller finish work. Right out of the gate, the first thing you notice is the balance. It has this clever counterweight system inside that actually does a decent job of soaking up the kickback, so your wrist doesn't feel like it's been through a workout after a long day of installing crown molding. It feels solid, maybe a little dense, but that weight is distributed well enough that it doesn't feel like a chore to hold. Now here is the real kicker. You can pull the trigger as fast as you want, and it just keeps up. There is no annoying ramp-up time or that weird lag you get with some other battery-powered nailers. It just fires. It handles those tiny 23-gauge pins from 5/8 all the way up to 1 3/8 inches, which covers pretty much every delicate trim job you run into. And because the nose is so slim, you can actually see where you are aiming, even when you are trying to tuck a pin into a tight corner or a narrow groove. It is a small detail, but it saves you from those frustrating moments where you accidentally mar the wood because you couldn't quite see the contact point. The safety tip is another smart touch. It is designed to keep the surface looking clean, which is exactly what you want when you are working with expensive trim. You don't want to be sanding out divots later. As for the battery life, it is surprisingly efficient. You can get through thousands of pins on a single charge, so unless you are doing an entire house in one go, you are likely not going to be swapping batteries every hour. Of course, it is not perfect. Since it is a tool-only purchase, you have to already be invested in the battery ecosystem, which might be a hurdle if you are starting from scratch. Also, it is a bit of a bummer that the battery isn't included in the box, but that is pretty standard for these professional-grade tools. It would have been nice to see a belt hook that felt a little more robust, but that is just nitpicking. At the end of the day, if you're tired of fighting with air hoses and want something that just works the moment you pull it out of the case, this thing is a serious contender. It is reliable, it is fast, and it makes the tedious parts of finished carpentry feel a whole lot easier. If you do a lot of trim work, it is hard to imagine going back to a compressor after using this for a week.
Check out the video description for updated price. And thank you for watching this video.